Great. Ms. Cullen, we're ready when you are.
All right, great. We're going to call the meeting to order, and everybody please stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Chen, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Spanish Clemens,
She's on the phone.
Ms. Batitsky,
Here.
Mrs. Longren, Mrs. Chaikin,
Here.
Mr. Cormack,
Here.
Mrs. Cullen,
Here.
Mr. Rice,
Here.
Mr. Russell,
Here.
and Mr. Wurs.
Here.
I just want to recognize the fact that Mrs. Baines Clemens is participating by phone, and to also offer a huge congratulations to her and her husband on the birth of their son on March 11th. So we want to welcome Brody Blake to the Penridge family, and both Brody and Mom are doing well. So Megan, congratulations.
Madam President, let me make it clear on the record that Ms. Baines Clemens gets only one vote, no matter what. So.
All right. Okay, for public comment, we don't have anyone that's signed up for agenda items, but nevertheless, I'll read the policy. According to Policy 903, public comment, which is limited to 3 minutes, should be directed to the presiding officer rather than individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. For confidentiality and privacy rights, specific comments regarding particular individuals must be communicated privately to the school board and superintendent via email at psdschoolboard@penridge.org. And again, we don't have anyone for agenda items, so all these comments will come at the end. So we will go right into the president's report, and I'm just going to be brief because I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Bolton to provide some details. But I know that everybody's curious about the community committee and what we were going to do next with it. And we've arrived at the point where it makes sense to hand over what we've done, or what information has been gathered, to the district personnel to work with it and create the any programming that might be needed, address concerns, because really everything that has been presented so far is something that has a committee or a district department that coordinates to that. So just some examples of issues that have been raised. People are looking for more diversity in hiring, which is already part of our goals, and we have that with our personnel and HR departments. Any suggestions for curriculum? We did do a curriculum diversity audit, I guess 2 years ago, and that's ongoing. We always welcome suggestions for curriculum, and then that's taken care of by the curriculum committee and the assistant superintendents and superintendent, of course. Any policies would go through the policy committee and the cabinet members. Dr. Durr, the Director of Pupil Services, is currently the cabinet liaison to policy. For behavior issues or climate, every other year we participate in the PAYS, which is the Pennsylvania Youth Survey, and it's given in odd years to even grades 6 through 12. And we will have those results in May. So in May you can come back and hear the results of that survey. It goes through all of the questions and compiles the data, the answers that the children gave. And then finally for academics, of course that falls sort of back to curriculum, but for things like academic growth and academic achievement and disparities related to that, that would be the purview of the superintendent and the assistant superintendents. And whereas we're going to talk about all of these things as we go along, for example, book review is one of the topics that came up, and that is going to be something that we'll talk about at a policy meeting. So we won't go into everything tonight, but one of the ones that I did want Dr. Bolton to speak to tonight just briefly is that part about, or the piece about academic growth, academic achievement, and where we are with the different groups of students. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Bolton.
Thank you, Mrs. Cullen. Data is, as you said, part of what we do every day. It obviously starts at the classroom, and the teachers are on a daily basis gathering formative information on their students and making academic decisions for the students in front of them. But as we think about expanding that to building and to grade level and to department, each building does have a data team. That has been, if you've looked at our goals over the last 2 years, that has been one of the goals that we've had. And Dr. Rabarchak and Dr. Scheid run those with the building principals, and they look at all of the data that's available to them, whether it be assessment on a math test or whether it be PSSA, and whether it be grade level, whether it be student level, and all of that data as it goes through Linkit can be sorted. And so we can look at data by gender, we can look at data for grade levels, we can obviously look at data for ethnicity to kind of look for patterns of growth and of concerns as we move that way. At a district level, we do take a look at GPA for graduating classes and have a sense for how is that gap and what types of students or groups of students may be struggling and we need to look at. Kind of use the benchmark of the class of 2018 because that's the class before I got here in terms of measuring things off of that. And we have, since the class of 2018, we have been able to close the achievement gap for our white versus non-white students. It does, as we've looked at that data, as you think about our goals for this year, one of our goal areas this year is specific to our English language learners, because we have noticed that that's one part where we have not been able to close the gap the way that we would have liked since the 2018 data. And actually that data has grown a little bit. That gap has increased by about 2% since 2018. That is primarily Hispanic-speaking students, although not solely in English language learners, but primarily in this community, it's Spanish-speaking students. And so you've seen our goals that we've expanded our EL program. Even tonight on the personnel report, we're hiring a brand new position at the high school. And it's those types of reactions to data that we look to see programmatically how can we help all of our students. And we'll continue to do that.
And so, again, we're going to follow the model of the comprehensive plan. So every 3 years, the school district is required to create a new comprehensive plan, and it's just as the name indicates. It's a plan that covers every aspect of the school district, and it's an extensive process. It's months long. But before that process begins, a steering committee is assembled. And that steering committee is made up of all stakeholders from the community, business owners, parents, teachers, administrators, anybody that lives in the Penridge community, and everybody gathers in a room and the goals are presented and people give feedback. But once that feedback is gathered, the steering committee is released, and that information that was gathered is used by the district to create, firm up the comprehensive plan, which is then presented to us, and then it goes to Harrisburg. So that's what we're going to do with the ad hoc committee, which is called Community. We'll keep it as a committee that we can recall, or we can have new members like we do with the steering committee. Every 3 years we have new members, and we will call it back when we need to have a committee consider something that is different from the things that we are already in progress of doing, and that fall under the purview of our committees or our district departments. And I do want to reemphasize, something I said last month back in February. I do feel that the district has been committed to these things, being an equal opportunity employer, presenting equal opportunities for our students, making sure that our students are able to achieve academically, making sure that they're safe and comfortable in the school. So we have things in place to do all of that, and nothing's ever perfect, but we always accept suggestions. And so the fact that we wouldn't have this committee meeting every month doesn't mean that we don't accept suggestions and we can't make adjustments to what we do. We always will accept feedback from people. But I did want to mention that again because I've lived here for 17 years, and sometimes when you hear when new initiatives on a national level come along and it's something new and has a new name to it, it doesn't mean that those kinds of activities weren't already occurring in this school district. My children, all 5 of them, have received quite a good education from Penridge in terms of being exposed to a lot of things as they've lived here in their core classes and also in their music and their art. I still have all their art around in the house, and it really was from a wide variety of cultures. The music always is, and they are taught in class about different cultures, people's history. So I just wanted to say that because I sometimes feel that it takes away, kind of discredits the efforts that have already been made by the district. And again, it's not like you can't improve, but I did want to just take a moment to acknowledge the good work that my family has experienced, that I know many families have experienced in Penridge. So with that, we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Cullen. Unfortunately, I need to start the superintendent's report on a sad note. Members of the community may not be aware, but the high school community lost 2 members this weekend. One was a recent graduate, and the other one was an assistant coach for one of our high school teams. And so I would ask if we would stand, if you're able, for a moment of silence for those 2 members. Thank you. Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with those families and friends of those 2 members of the Penridge High School community. There were whole different layers of support available at the high school today. If you know any individuals who have been impacted by either of these or any other losses, please make sure that they reach out to somebody at the high school so that we can provide support both to the students and to their families. Next, we'd like to recognize our student athletes who have qualified for state competitions so far this year. We have a wonderful collection from multiple sports. I'm going to say briefly what the teams qualified for, then I'm going to ask them and their coaches to come forward with a picture, and then we'll keep reading the list. So first, we're going to start with our women's soccer team. Our women's soccer team continues to excel both in the classroom and on the field. And this year, they made it all the way to the state quarterfinals. So congratulations, ladies, if you'd come forward. Let's do 2 layers and choir shoulders as best we can. Let's do a second layer.
Now we're in the background. Just be over there. It depends because Callie's on which angle. Yeah. Maybe she'll just no. Crappie's in. Crappie's in. Lawrence. Ricky, you're in a picture. Smile.
I'm just going to do the other ones down here since we're going to have multiple pictures. Next is our women's water polo team. 2 recognitions here. One, they qualified for the state and came in 5th in the state, as well as Coach Jacob Grant, who won the honor as the Pennsylvania Coach of the Year. So congratulations to the ladies and the coach. All right, for the sake of honesty, you're only as good as the script you're given. They came in 6th in the state, which is still awesome, right? But I don't want the word out there, whoever came in 5th, that we tried to bump them from that. Next is both our men's and our women's winter track. We had a state champion in winter track, so congratulations to Jared Hess, the state champion in the triple jump. Come on down, Jared. Congratulations to Mr. Joey Gant, who in the 200 meters came in 2nd place. Joey, come on down. Our 4x4 meter relay came in 8th place, and the members of that 4x4 meter relay, Luke Ostermeal, Austin Prudish, Ryan Martin, Joey Gant, and Austin Rosie Powell. Qualifying for states in the triple jump, Nick Rossica. And overall, the team came in 7th in the entire state of Pennsylvania. Congratulations, gentlemen. We're going to get up our women's winter track and take a group picture. So, congratulations to Ava Patoric, who qualified in the 800 meters. Congratulations, Ava. Come on down. We have more winners. Next is cross country. In the men's cross country, Ryan Martin qualified for states and finished 122nd in the state of Pennsylvania. And on our women's cross country team, we had 2 qualifiers for the state. Ashley Landis finished it in 22nd, and Nora Ridding in 69th. Congratulations. Next is women's bowling. I don't believe she's here tonight, but Maribeth Baker won our league and qualified for states with a 1,079 series over 5 games. So congratulations to Maribeth. Mrs. Cullen just said she just passed 1,000 for her entire life in bowling. So you keep going, you'll get there. All right? Next in women's swimming, congratulations to Ali Riccardi, who qualified for states in the 50 free. And to our 200 free relay, Lexi Hulse, Emily Myers, Addie Gargis, and Ali Riccardi. Congratulations, ladies. One more edit to the script. Also, congratulations to Ali Riccardi, who also qualified in the 100 free. So, congratulations, Ali. Wrestling.
I was looking out for you, Cole.
Cole, that was just wrong. I'm sorry. So, I bet your picture was up there about 6 times. You'd think I'd pay attention, right? You were letter E, but I skipped right over you when I got to cross country, so I'm sorry. Congratulations to Cole Coffin, who was a PIAA AAA state qualifier at 113 pounds. Congratulations, Cole. Next is Read Across America Week. The first week of March is always a lot of fun in our schools. Read Across America Week engages students in reading books and encourages a love of reading. Spirit days, reading challenges, guest readers, and so much more fill the week with fun and excitement. Excuse me. The Penridge District Art Show was this past weekend, and it was a huge success. Students across the district showcased their work in the high school's lobby. In addition, the art is available for purchase. And so funds raised will go to a scholarship fund for our senior art students who look to pursue art in the future. If you'd like to view and purchase any of the work, you would visit the website ArtOme, spelled just like that, artomeplus.com/Penridge 18944. On that website, you'll see all of the framed pieces from the art show. If there were any unframed pieces that you're interested in, those you would contact the school directly and they can put you in contact with the art teacher. Another congratulations from this weekend, the Penridge Central Middle School 7th grader Priyana Kant was named the winner of the Scripps Bucks Montgomery County Regional Spelling Bee and will move on to compete in the 2022 Scripps National Spelling Bee in Maryland. The National Bee will be broadcast on the ION television network. Priyana's winning word was kaleidoscope. I'll give you a couple seconds. K-A-L-E-I-D-O-C-O-P-E. And that was in the 7th round of the spelling bee. She won the spelling bee at her home school at Central. At Central, her winning word was sardine. That one I got right. Also, congratulations to second place winner, Ethan Lugenbull, who was a Penridge North Middle School 8th grader. Congratulations to both Prina and Ethan. Two events to invite you to. First, the Penridge School District invites parents, guardians, and students to attend our annual Title I Family Engagement Night tomorrow, March 22nd, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at West Rock Hill Elementary School. The event will offer parents and guardians the opportunity to explore the extensive resources our schools use with students and hear from a fabulous keynote speaker, Amy Scaracino. Amy will share her experiences of how to help your children build an extensive vocabulary and incorporate it into their everyday reading enjoyment. To register for the event, please go to the Penridge District home site. Next is the Penridge Community Partnership. We invite you to our final parent presentation for the year on April 28, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Penridge High School auditorium. The title is The Science of Helping Your Child Manage Anxiety and Stress and will be presented by local psychologist Dr. Catherine Dalsgaard. Dr. Dalsgaard will share scientifically based strategies to help better understand and manage your child's stresses and anxieties. As a licensed and board-certified clinical psychologist with expertise in cognitive behavioral therapy for children anxiety disorders, Dr. Dalsgaard will describe what is normal anxiety versus problematic anxiety and detail both positive parenting strategies and school strategies that will help both the parent and the child connect and thrive. For more information and to register for childcare, you can go to the Penridge website and look for community partnerships. Finally, I wanted to provide an update on a situation that was part of public comment last month. There was a family who was here that spoke but represented a set of families from the community specific to the religious holiday Diwali. And so just wanted to have some conversation publicly about it. I explained this to the board, but it's always good to make sure the community knows how we handle those types of situations with our calendar. Our calendar for next year has already been approved, and there are some religious holidays in it, but not all of them. But just wanted to let you know that when there are religious holidays that don't fall on a day off, what we do is we communicate with our staff, first of all, to make sure that they are aware, because they wouldn't be aware of all of the holidays or when they are, especially a holiday like Diwali, that changes in the calendar. It can be anywhere from the middle of October to the beginning of November, depending on the year. Making sure that our staff understands when the dates are important to the members of our community who recognize that religious holiday, and also ask for their grace in terms of if students need to miss assignments. on those days to make sure that they understand that those days are excused, and they work with the students to make sure they do that. So we do that for a whole host of religious holidays, although I do have to admit that this year I didn't send something out over Diwali, and so I'm thankful to be reminded of that from members of our community. We'll make sure moving forward that we do that. So I just wanted to provide that update since that was part of the public comment last month, and I get an opportunity to share that with the board, but not the entire community. That is the superintendent's report. I would like to introduce Leah, who is a new student representative for us. Leah is a sophomore who is a member of student council and also a tech school. So Leah, the student liaison report, please.
Thank you for having me. So hi everyone, my name is Leah Pratahoa. I'm a representative for student council. I've chaired a few events in the past, which include Sidewalk Chalk Day, Pink Out, and Winter Ball. I'm also a sophomore, and I'm on the cosmetology for tech, level 1. I feel like it has brought a lot of opportunities for me. So upcoming events that Student Council is holding include the prep rally and the dodgeball event, which are on April 14th, and will be a half day. We are planning to engage the whole school with various games and treats. Next, we have the blood drive, which is May 24th. This shouldn't be any new news, but I just wanted to restate that. We are also working with Miller Keystone, who is our traditional partner for this. And the blood drive will take place during the school day for eligible students. Now we have the Mental Health Awareness Week. We are planning t-shirts, a chalk the walk, doing the paint and hearts, announcements, and an event like yoga or Zen doodling as options. That's it for Student Council. Thank you for listening and for having me.
Leah, thank you. Leah, do you happen to know whether the blood drive is open to community members as well?
I believe it is just open for students, but I could further look upon that and have
Great.
an answer for you.
We'll look into that, and if it is available to community members, we'll make sure we put it on our website. Okay? All right, thank you.
Okay. Next item is the approval of our consent calendar. So I would like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar, items A through I.
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Rice. Are there any comments or questions from board members? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mrs. Banis Clemens was an aye. All right, so that motion carries 9-0. Thank you. And our next committee report is curriculum, and that's me. We do have a couple of items, well, one motion with a couple of different courses in it. I'd like to make a motion to approve the following curriculum improvement proposals, A through C. And since there's only 3 of them, I'll mention that one is Wellness B for 10th grade. And then we have Math 6 and Math 8.
Mrs. Cullen, would you mind amending the motion to vote on Wellness B separately, please?
I wouldn't mind. So we will make a motion to approve just the Wellness B. We'll take the Wellness B first.
Okay. Mr. Wurst seconded it, right? So.
Do you still?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it was seconded by Mr. Wurs. Are there any comments or questions from board members?
Yes, I would like to comment on this. My concern is that we're developing a half-year course to be required above and beyond what the state requires to be specified for wellness and phys ed, and I believe that we should be allowing parents, students, and guidance counselors to decide how to fill those additional courses based on what's best for individual students. I feel like parent choice isn't just when we hope that parents are going to make the choices we want them to choose. I think that we need to allow them to make the decisions that are best between students and their families. So that's why I'm not supportive of this course. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so again, this is a motion to approve Wellness B. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so that passes 8-1. So next I'll make a motion to approve the Math 6 and Math 8 courses.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Wurs. Are there any comments or questions from board members? right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that was a 9-0. Thank you. The next curriculum committee meeting is scheduled for April 4th. And that brings us to facilities with Mr. Cormack.
Good evening. I'd like to make a motion for approval of Phase 2 Bedminster paving and Dialer Elementary and South Middle School sidewalk replacement.
I'll second that.
All right, it was moved by Mr. Cormack and seconded by Mr. Rice. Are there any comments or questions from board members? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Opposed? I think that was 9-0. Mr. Cormack?
I'd like to make a motion to approve a fee waiver for the Borough of Percy High School pool use, which is the high school's pool, for lifeguard training.
I'll second it.
Offer anything? So it was moved by Mr. Cormack and seconded by Mr. Rice. Wasn't sure if Dr. Bolton might want to speak about what that is.
Yeah, this is just a situation where the opportunity, the Borough of Percy, so in partnership with them, they're looking for an opportunity to hold lifeguard training. The number of lifeguards that have been certified has been on hold over the last couple of years. There's not been the same access to pools. And so they're looking to do something while it's a little warmer indoors. And so they were asking if they could use the pool to be able to do the certification. And so then the certification will be much cheaper to our students who participate and our community members who participate.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Mr. Cormack?
I'd like to make a motion to approve items A through G on the obsolete items list.
Second it.
All right, it's moved by Mr. Cormack and seconded by Mr. Rice. Are there any comments or questions from board members? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries 9-0. Mr. Cormack?
The next facility committee meeting is scheduled for April 11th, 2022.
All right, thank you. And next is finance. Mr. Rice?
All right, Finance Committee, I'd like to make a motion to approve contracts A through I below. I could read them, but they are all in the...
It's a lot.
That's a lot. Nobody wants to listen to me read
Second.
3 paragraphs.
All right, it was moved by Mr. Rice and seconded by Mr. Wers. Are there any comments or questions from board members? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Rice?
All right, I'd also like to make a motion to approve a student activity account for high school Turning Point USA at Penridge Club.
I'll second that. So it was moved by Mr. Rice and seconded by Mrs. Cullen. Are there any comments or questions from board members? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
All right, the next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for April 11th, 2022.
Okay, moving right along. That brings us to personnel. Mr. Russell?
There's only one item here. Sorry. There's one item, and that's a motion to approve the contract with Dr. Anthony Rybarczyk, Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education for the term July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Is that Mr. Cormack?
Yes,
All
it
right.
was.
Moved by Mr. Russell and seconded by Mr. Cormack. Are there any comments or questions? Dr. Bolton looks like he wants to speak.
Well, I just want to recognize Dr. Rybarczyk for his work. Had an opportunity over the last 3 years to work with Tony as our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education, and he is a fine administrator, a fine man, and a great leader. And so I'm just thrilled that he's willing to stay on with us and thrilled that the board is willing to consider this new contract for him.
We're excited about it too, and I think it was the time at Grass that really molded you into the administrator you are today. Are there any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Congratulations.
The next personnel and the next personnel committee meeting is scheduled for April 11th, 2022.
Thank you. Okay, the next report is IU with Mrs. Banis Clemens. Just hold on 1 minute. I'm going to put the microphone near you. You're good. I think she's unmuting herself. Maybe.
Where are you going to talk?
Maybe.
She knows she's supposed to.
Mrs.
Oh,
Chair.
sorry. I had my phone still on mute and started talking. The Bucks County Intermediate Unit met on March 15th. Just a few highlights. The Bucks County Intermediate Unit multilingual support was a mini report. The Bucks IU proudly offers multilingual support both in-house and at the sending district, with staff members fluent in a combined 5 different languages. They also offered recent well-attended workshops to help train others in these supports. This can be a complicated process because they have to differentiate between any potential learning disabilities and the language barrier to determine needs and appropriate services. The art at the Bucks IU was another topic. I shared the history of this in the past, so I'll be brief. But we do still have the traveling art gallery that sends artwork to the district for 3 to 4 months at a time to put on display, and then pairs it with the Art on the Move pre-K to 12 interdisciplinary curricula to learn about that collection and use that collection for for projects and learning activities. Also, a story was shared from Central Bucks regarding how therapy dogs help them through tragic situations and how it was the quietest students who were the least likely to be reached by adults who showed to be most supported by the therapy dog. Helping children strengthen executive skills to reach their full potential is a training that is being offered for parents of students in pre-K to 12. It focuses on helping children learn those executive skills, and it's being offered via Zoom on April 7th from 6 to 7:30. Registration is required. It's on their website, but we could also put a link up to it, or people can email if they want us to be able to share that directly, so they can, if they're interested in that registration. And there are some March events at the Fab Lab Center. There's a cardboard carnival for STEAM Saturday on March 26th from 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. for children in grades 3 to 8. Kids will be challenged to dream up a carnival game, design it, and then build it out of cardboard using the materials, tools, and equipment at the Fab Lab. They will need to think about creating an attractive design and also about how the game will function. Great skills for real life. This is what toy and game designers do. Kids will build their own cardboard carnival games and then try out the games built by others. So you can register your kids for that. There's also the after-school club that you can sign your kids up for. It's beginning the week of March 22nd. They meet for 1 hour, 1 night a week for 6 weeks. There's 3 different ones. There's the Robot Challenges with Dash, which starts March 22nd, and that's for kids grades 2 to 4. There's the Get Creative with STEM Art, March 23rd, for kids grades 4 to 8. And then there's the Engineering Design Challenges, March 24th, for grades 1 to 4. I won't read all of the details of the 3 of those, but if people are interested, that may be a flyer that we want to put on our website so that parents can register kids if they're interested in participating in those activities. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is the summer camp for the Fab Lab Center that's going to be offered. It's 8 different weeks of exciting interactive activities. It's for children grades 1 through 6. Children who will be in grades 1 through 6 starting in the fall of, actually kids who are already in grades 1 through 6, it says fall of 22. No, that's, you know what I mean, sorry. And that begins June 20th and runs through August 18th. And it's from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Thursday. There's also a before and after cares program, so there's many different options and opportunities for some of these Fab Lab activities. And just trying to get back to my board docs here. Our next IU board meeting is scheduled for April 19th.
All right, thank you. And that brings us to the tech school, Mr. Cormack.
Thank you very much. Moving forward with the tech school, the exercise and sports technology program is now looking to hire a director for that position, an instructor, let me put it that way. Go on the website and you can look at the information regarding the position requirements. Number 2 is we had a career fair. It was a major success. Over 20 companies attended the fair, which introduced the company and its manufacturing or services to the students, their parents, for potential job openings. It was a great success, and we plan on doing more of that. And last but not least, we have a new articulation agreement with the Delaware Valley University for the graphic communication program. Students can earn up to 6 credits in the media communication while attending high school. That's another great step in taking the Tech School to another level. So I want to congratulate our staff on moving forward with that articulation agreement. Our next scheduled meeting is for April 21st, 2022.
Thank you. And that brings us to old business. Do any board members have any old business
Nope.
items?
Not yet.
Oh,
Not yet.
sorry, what did I?
Penridge area?
Oh, the Penridge Area Coordinating Committee didn't meet. Right. So,
It's not on the agenda.
yeah,
No, it is.
all right. So, well, Mrs. Bowden, you can,
I was just gonna say, they, I guess they didn't have any new recommendations, so I received an email that they were not meeting in March, so the next Penridge Area Community Coordinating Committee will be in April.
okay, so old business. I did want to go back to the item about Avali and the calendar, making those considerations. Like Dr. Bolton said, the calendar for next year is already set, so we wouldn't change that. But in addition to allowing teachers, letting teachers know, one of the thoughts was maybe also, since we have technology now, that we could provide something for students, lessons electronically, because we do have that. I guess one good thing from the pandemic is that maybe we can offer a lesson for the students that they could actually see, which could be beneficial. But that's something, we haven't decided, but I thought I would just mention it as a possibility. Okay, does any board member have new business? All right, seeing none. That brings us back to public comment. So we do have some community members signed up for public comment. The first one is Price Kant. Just remember to state your name and municipality, please.
Thank you, presiding officers. My name is Prayas Kant, and I am from Hilltown Township. I have a elementary school kid as well as a middle school kid, and I am a parent of Priyana Kant, so I'll pass the message. Thank you. But I am here today. I think the Diwali topic, we have talked about it. I am here today because I have heard a lot about diversity and inclusion, or lack thereof. My personal experience was first time attending the meeting here, last meeting. What I observed at the last meeting was that there was multiple people here that signed up for public comments that were never called up. The public comments section is for a reason. What was informed was that the handwriting were illegible. Understandable. But the second reason was that it was hard to pronounce. That's not diversity or inclusion. We are a school district that are raising kids that want to be understanding what diversity should be. I understand that these may not be Anglo-Saxon names, but I can confidently stand here today and say that there's hardly anyone in this room that can not pronounce Mr. Patel, who's here, who's not called up. to make a public comment. I am glad and want to thank all of the board members that I was called and given this opportunity today to speak on behalf of many of us who wanted to make the petition for the Diwali holiday. Diversity enriches the educational experience. We learn from those whose experiences, beliefs, and perspectives are different from our own. And these lessons can be taught best in a richly diverse intellectual and social environment. It promotes personal growth and healthy society. Diversity challenges stereotype misconceptions. It encourages critical thinking, and it helps students learn to communicate effectively with people of diverse and varied background. So I would like to encourage board to think through diversity and inclusion and what that looks like. Thank you.
Next is Yogita Sadam from Hilltown.
Hello, my name is Yogita and I'm from Hilltown Township. I wanted to highlight an incident which happened in the last meeting. In the interest of time, I'm coming straight to the point. It was my first time at a school board meeting. I signed up on the sheet and my name was probably third or fourth on the list for public comments. The member calling out names as per the list decided to skip my name. When my friend called out that they skipped my name, which was almost 3 hours towards the end of the meeting, this member finally called my name as he was compelled to do so. Though he apologized, I felt the bias. He justified his apology by saying that he couldn't say my name and decided to just skip it. I was disappointed with two things. Most importantly, the other board members were completely okay with it. They were just spectators and were perhaps okay with someone representing them display non-inclusion of some community members by making public comments for a reason like this. Skipping my name totally meant not allowing me to speak. We as community members expect the board to be completely unbiased, earn trust, and encourage diversity and inclusion of all community members. I would have been okay if the member had at least attempted saying my name, which is not very hard. It's Yogita. And I would have helped him correct it, but deciding to just skip it was not okay. Secondly, we would like to see equal representation by people of color on the board in future. How do you encourage that and what it will take so that the school district stands for progressive thinking, diversity, and inclusion is something that is totally in the hands of existing board and the brand and reputation they create during their term. Thank you.
I do want to take a minute before we continue with public comment to address last month's meeting. The reason why the names were organized the way they were is when we have people sign up, we ask you to put your name, your municipality, and then whether or not you're speaking to an agenda item. And next to your name, you had written Chalfont, which I erroneously thought was a CB, a central, not a Penridge address, but forgetting that. So for example, tonight you put Hilltown Township, which is clearly a Penridge municipality. So when we organize the list for public comment for future reference, we make sure that we get residents, especially on a night like last month, where we had 20 people, which was more than 20 people, which was the equivalent then of like 60 minutes of comments. So we organized them to make sure that Penridge residents were first on the list, before outside. So I just wanted to make sure that that was made clear, that there were a number of people who were put If they had signed to say that they weren't speaking on an agenda item, that's another thing that we'll have you put into the second comment period. So I apologize if you felt like a slight in that regard. It is sometimes difficult, I will say, to read handwriting, but I at least wanted to explain the reason why we put people in different spots for public comment. There's a process to it, and it has to do with where you reside, whether or not you're a Penridge resident, or if you're not a Penridge resident, if you are speaking on behalf of a Penridge group with their permission, and then also whether or not you're speaking on an agenda item. So I just wanted to offer that in case you weren't here at the end.
No, thank you for that explanation, but I would have appreciated if you had explained that in the beginning of the meeting, or we could have clarified.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would have to go back, but as I recall, I think we did make mention of putting, the people, definitely if you're not speaking to an agenda item, that you would be in the second comment period. But then also we did speak to residents and non-residents being permitted to do public comment, because the month before we had individuals who were not residents. So I apologize. I mean, I do think, and I can be corrected if I'm wrong, but I think that we did mention it. So.
I understand.
Thank you. Okay, so the next is Stacy Smith.
Okay, just making sure that's on. Stacy Smith, Percy Borough. So I just want to address this overwhelming majority narrative that I keep hearing from commenters and members on our board. I hear it over and over again. And yes, the current board got the most votes in the previous election. No one is contesting that. However, it was not an overwhelming majority. Let me just throw some numbers at you. This district consists of 8 municipalities and approximately 50,000 residents. Of those 50,000 residents, there are about 35,000 voters. Of those 35,000 voters, less than half even voted in the 2021 general election. Out of those roughly 17,000 people who voted, the difference between the number of votes between the two highest vote getters on both tickets was only about 1,700 votes. That is hardly an overwhelming majority of people in the district, or of voters for that matter. There are a heck of a lot more stakeholders in this district than just the 17,000 or so that voted in the last election. And let's not forget, in all of this, the most important stakeholders, the almost 7,000 students who attend our schools. I'm hearing a lot about the voters and the parents, but this is a public school, and the people we should be most concerned about are the students. Almost 7,000 students, that's 6,999 more than my one child in this district. To me, my daughter will always be the most important student in the school, as she should be. But there are 6,999 other students in this district. It's not just about her, it's not just about me and what I want for her. My point is, saying that the people on this board won the election is not a clear argument for saying that we have to do what those specific voters wanted. We need to take all of the residents into account, and most importantly, the students. School boards are supposed to be nonpartisan and beholden to the stakeholders, which is approximately 33,000 more people than who voted at all, let alone who voted for the people who sit before me. Yes, they need to represent the people who voted for them, but they also need to represent the people who didn't vote at all, and that is the actual majority. Thank you.
Leah Rash.
Leah Rash, Hilltown Township. I would like to point out that all those committees that were mentioned in the beginning existed when the board voted in August to keep DEI moving. Many of the members up here sensed the urgency and pushed for it. We're asking how quickly will we get it started? Absolutely 100%, let's go. Personnel committee was there. Curriculum committee was there, all those things. Policy committee hasn't met since August, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But, so when we're asking for evidence on how this changed, the only answer is that you've changed your mind. Joan says so, and you all agree. That's the only evidence I've been given. I've sent repeated emails to all of you asking when this happened, and have not gotten a single evidence-based response, just opinions and beliefs. So, your policy states, personal decisions should be based upon all sufficient facts. We should vote our honest conviction without partisan bias. So before you even vote on something, you should have the facts. And if I'm asking for it, you should easily be able to give it to me around anything. We've been asking around LGBTQ policy, no evidence. Repeated emails back and forth. No evidence but one article about hormone therapy, which had nothing to do with the pronoun question we had. So CRT, I know it's like this big monster that you guys fought at your election. We just did the curriculum. So I could have come up and said, how dare you teach calculus in elementary school? Because you're teaching addition and subtraction, and that's all part of calculus. It's not. Like, it's not calculus. So components, when a theory is being built in research, in academia, everything, it's built on existing theories. It is not a reciprocal relationship that that new theory is now all the pieces. Those individual pieces are not that theory. You can't strike out every component of it because you don't like the end result. That was not being taught here. It's a law school class. None of you have been educated on it. Maybe the lawyer, I don't know. But like, you're talking about things you don't understand. Research goes through iterations. I'm very worried about the public comment, how much you take seriously. That Johns Hopkins paper was not a Johns Hopkins paper at all. At all. It's not been peer reviewed. Critical part of research is peer review. You all have to understand this. You have to do the homework. You have to keep each other accountable. You have to be honest in your statements. And you must not say things unless it is actually true and backed up by evidence. The election is over. But now we've got a school to run. And it's more than just all of you. Thank you.
Stephen Rash?
Stephen Rash, Hilltown Township. Yogita's comments are fair. First, that you made her feel at fault for saying Chalfont instead of Hilltown. That's absolutely ridiculous. She should have been given a chance to speak when she had the opportunity. And you never approached the topic of his bias from the last meeting. You just allowed it to go on. And then all of you up here, besides, including Joan, but all of you sat here and allowed her to say those things. You have a voice as well. There's 9 other people up here other than Joan. And you sit here meeting after meeting. Every single time someone reaches out, excuse me, not every single time, the times I've reached out and my friends have reached out, and I'm told the policy of the board is that only one person will respond. What are you needed for then if only one person's going to respond? Have a voice, speak up, stop being a coward and say what you want to say. I highly doubt you all think the same thing as her. So speak up next time. When we ask you a question, let's have a dialogue and let's talk. Thank you.
Brittany Valentine Brown?
No, you're good.
It's already on.
You're right.
Unless I'm smiley button, so I wasn't sure. Brittany Valentine Brown, East Rock Hill Township. The last board meeting was the first one I've ever attended, and honestly it was disheartening, to say the least, to see the enormous divide in our community. I come to you today not on political grounds or anything of that sort. But I would like to touch on two things that really struck me last meeting the most. One being the comment that systemic racism doesn't exist. and I understand that some board members feel that way as well as the comment from one board member stating, we have Martin Luther King Day and Black History Month. Does that sound like a racist school? First, I would like to just start by asking the people in the room that don't believe in systemic racism, how did you even come to that conclusion? Literally, how? What is your basis and research on this matter that makes you so absolute in your assertion to even go as far as state it as a fact? Have you ever truly taken the time to listen to the stories of my son being called the N-word by school students, the inherent bias of some teachers towards my children, who are, by the way, biracial? How is something so real to my family and many others like me dismissed so easily because you have the privilege of it not being an issue in you or your children's lives? Doesn't that lack of depth and perception literally in essence prove the need for the program like DEI or something equivalent? Second was the school board member mentioning MLK Day and Black History Month and stating, does it sound like a racist school? Wow, what a condescending, arrogant thing to say. I was truly speechless. It's the equivalent of saying, we allowed blacks and people of color to start living in our communities. What more do you want? Do you know what I want as a parent? I truly just want an inclusive and equal society for all of our children. I want you to take these issues seriously within our district and put your political bias aside and hear someone else's perspective other than your own. That is all I truly want. Non-political, just to understand that kids being bullied, whether for race, gender identity, or anything, should not be tolerated. And we can't get there by ignoring the issues at hand and denying that they even exist. Again, I don't want a pedestal for my child. I don't want him to be treated differently. I just truly want equality for him and my other two younger ones. And to be honest, isn't this what we all want? We all have way more in common than we think. As I sat up here and listened to the parents and individuals in this community, we all wanted what was best for our children. And as one school board member even stated, she doesn't believe in DEI, but something needs to be done. So how do we get there? We can't keep sitting here kicking the can down the road as everyone kept mentioning at the last meeting. Let's get to the table and talk and find our common ground. Let's hear each other's perspective without arrogance and ego involved. Let's parent. Let's set an example. Thank you.
David Badillion.
David Badillion, Percy Borough. I just want to touch on a couple of things. I was at the last activities and what was the other committee? Curriculum, thank you. Meeting. And to be honest, I was surprised because to me, that was a very substantial meeting to me, right? It's the meeting we're talking about data, the performance of the school, the academic performance of students. And I was literally, besides a couple that was there to provide a public comment about something else, I don't remember what it was, I was literally the only one. And so it does feel like this community is a bit distracted with one thing, and we say we care about the kids, but that meeting, which to me was one of the most important meetings probably for this year, was to see how the district is doing in the test scores. And I'm sure there's many people watching and it's hard to get to these meetings, and I get all that, but it was just surprising to see that, and I hope people go back and look and see, because one of the things that actually stuck out to me that one of the board members mentioned is the fact that 1/3 of our students are considered economically disadvantaged, I think based on the free food program or whatever. And that's like a substantial thing for the district to consider. I know there's specific, Title I schools, and looking at evaluating whether or not there's resources that can be, looked at to provide better support for those students. And that's a significant portion, like 1/3. And we don't, it doesn't seem like we talk about that, and I'm just surprised. So I would encourage everybody to go back and look at that meeting, because it's talking about where the district needs to go in areas of improvement. So I'm glad to see the math improvements. I appreciate the kind of honesty in addressing the gaps and talking about that there is a gap with the non-English versus English-speaking students. And so I hope that the district will continue its partnership with Revivals, because as I understand, it's actually providing free services to non-English speaking students. And so that's an area that the community is stepping up to help with that gap. I do want to quickly address the book reviews. I know I talked to, emailed you, Dr. Bold. You mentioned that the library review had been completed, no changes have been made, but I also hear that something the board still needs to reconsider. So I do want to encourage the board to still look at the guidelines that are being used. It seems like certain books aren't being allowed in, like the Tuttle Twins, I'm aware, was provided but isn't being allowed because it doesn't have professional reviews, and yet other books that were inappropriate but maybe had professional reviews were in. And I think there's opportunities for providing more of a balance of perspectives. I've sent the board an email on that. And so I just would encourage the school to consider looking at those guidelines for how books are brought in, whether they're through donations or books that the librarians pick to bring in. So thanks.
Okay, Paul Daniels?
Yes.
Okay. Liz Deal?
Hi, Liz Steele, Sellersville. I don't have anything planned, but I'm literally taken back. It feels very sudden, all these attacks. I thank the board. I graduated in 1983. I have 8 siblings that graduated here. I have 2 children. I've been here. I've been to every meeting. We've never had these problems. All of a sudden, you guys want to just all gang up. I see you guys out there. You're all together. You want to just attack the school board. You call her out by name, which is against the rule, but I'm sure I can't do this. How come all of a sudden it's just happening now? It has not happened. I've been here the whole time. It has not happened. They, in good faith, started the DEI committee, and you guys do the exact same thing that you're not supposed to be doing.
Ms. Diaz, I just
dividing.
need you to address the board, please.
I'm sorry.
No, please just do that. Thank you.
Yes, I want to thank the board. I think you've done an amazing job. I haven't seen anything unjust, anything unfair. I don't see you judging somebody by the color of their skin. You have heard all the facts and you have been 100% correct. And especially, here's a good example with, the name calling. You didn't call the name because it said Chalfant, but they just run with it. It's horrible. I'm just really distraught. I want to just say thank you to the board. You're doing a great job, and keep up what you're doing regardless of all the false accusations. I'm a community member and I don't agree with any of them, and I haven't seen anything of what they're saying. Just because they say it doesn't make it true. I haven't seen it. Thank you.
Brian McMullen?
Good evening, Brian McMullen, East Rock Hill. I'm a member of the community committee. I would like to speak about the diversity data that Dr. Bolton spoke of earlier this evening. Why was this not made available to the committee from the start? We asked for this exact information at the very first retreat. When was this data gathered, and why wasn't it provided again? This was one of our primary stumbling blocks, and it certainly set us up for a slow start. It would appear now that this committee member, that this was deliberately kept from us, keeping us in the dark on an already difficult task. General Doolittle quoted, "There's nothing stronger than the heart of a volunteer. You had not one but 2 groups of volunteers, and you squandered them both." Thank you for your time.
We are at announcements, and an executive session was held on March 7th, 2022 to discuss a safety matter. On March 14th, 2022 to discuss a personnel matter, and there will be one following tonight's meeting to discuss a personnel matter. The next school board meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 25th, 2022. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.